Hello, welcome to La Excellence. Welcome to ReCAP program. In this program, we are revising monthly current affairs. In this session, let us understand part 1 of November 2020's current affairs. PDF notes for this particular video is available in the description. If you want to join test series related to this particular series, you can join so by clicking on the link mentioned in the description box. First, let us start with Polity current affairs. Our first issue is Governor's mercy power with regard to Rajiv Gandhi convicts case. Governor and President of India, they have the judicial powers known as mercy powers, which are known as pardon powers. Under Article 72, President of India has pardon powers. Under Article 161, Governor of the state has the pardon power. Under this particular article, Governor of a state has the powers to grant pardons, reprieves, respites, and remissions of punishments, either to suspend or remit or commute the sentence of a person under against any law within the state executive power. There is one more provision with regard to this, that is CRPC's section 432. Under this particular section, it laid down certain guidelines that appropriate government at any time, without any conditions, can suspend the execution of sentence or remit the whole or remit or remove any part of the sentence given to the person. Now, why this is in news? It is because Tamil Nadu state government is asking its governor to grant relief for a person who is convicted under Rajiv Gandhi's case, because there's no evidence found against him. His direct role is not there. But the center says, as the case is still under investigation by the central agencies, it is not possible to grant the pardon. But who should decide? Is it the governor or the central government? It is the governor. That is why Tamil Nadu government went to Supreme Court saying that we have given a suggestion, we have given a direction to governor to take up this particular decision, but the case is still pending. He has not responded on the mercy petition. And the Supreme Court has said that it is already delayed. He has applied for mercy petition in 2015. From 2015, now it's 6 years. The governor has not responded. That is against the violation of law. So governor should respond quickly. That is the judgment given by Supreme Court. That is why this issue in news. Now let us understand the basic differences between powers of President of India Article 72 and powers of Governor of the state under Article 161. There are two major differences. What are they? Only President of India can grant pardon powers under sentence given by the court martial. Under Article 161, Governor doesn't have such power. Second one is, in case of death sentences, Governor has no power to pardon. Only President of India has the pardon power with regard to death sentences. These are two primary differences. Now, what do we mean by pardon, reprieve, respite and remission? Try to recollect it once. Yes, try to recollect. Next, Star Campaigner status and Election Commission's guidelines. Recently, last year in November 2020, Election Commission of India has removed Star Campaigner status to few individuals. That's why it was in news. Who is a Star Campaigner? Star Campaigner can be a celebrity or any person. He or she can be a politician, film star, anyone who is declared by the political party as a star campaigner. That means political party nominates certain individuals as the star campaigners. Why? What is the difference? Why can't they just take them for simply take them for the election campaign? Why should they declare certain individuals as star campaigners? Because there are limitations on poll expenditure. For example, for MPs, 70 lakh rupees is the individual election expenditure, and there is no limit for political parties. They can spend any amount. Now in this context, if a person is declared as a star campaigner, his expenditure or her expenses, all the things will come under political parties expenditure, not under individual candidates expenditure. That's why recognized national and state party declared by the Election Commission of India can nominate up to maximum 40 star campaigners. Unrecognized political party can nominate up to 20 star campaigners. That means their expenses now will come under party's expenses, not under candidates' expenses. Under Section 77 of Representation of Peoples Act, these expenses will be borne by the political parties. Now, Model Code of Conduct deals with these provisions. MCC. MCC is not a statutory code. It is not under any law. It is an executive code. This MCC is a set of guidelines given by the Election Commission of India to regulate political parties as well as candidates prior to the elections. It helps Election Commission of India to conduct free and fair elections under Article 324. And MCC is operational, this is important. MCC is operational from the date on which schedule is announced until the date on which results is announced. Final phase elections gets completed and the results will be announced. Till that time, MCC will be applicable. MCC will be enforceable directly by the Election Commission of India and the officials chosen by the Election Commission. Next issue is Constitution of Special Courts. In the year 2017, Supreme Court has ordered for Constitution of Special Courts to fast track the long pending trials against the lawmakers. Under this based on this particular judgment, 12 special courts were set up across 11 states exclusively to try the sitting MPs and MLAs. Special courts in each state has the jurisdiction over the entire state, while 2 special courts are placed in Delhi. Now, against this particular order, there are various high court judgments. Various high courts have reservations against this particular order. There is a committee appointed by Madras High Court on this issue. This committee has raised few issues. 1. Special courts can only be constituted by the statute, that is law, not by the executive, not by the judiciary. Special courts should be offence-centric, not offender-centric. And how one special courts will be sufficient for the entire state? And then, let's say if a person is elected as an MLA, his tenure will be over, let's say by this particular end of the year. This court takes time, let's consider that. Now, again, another person will become MLA of that particular constituency. Now, who will be trial now? Who will be on trial now? So, such issues are there. So that is why Supreme Court has said in November 2020, it has said that we have given the order, but it got delayed because of various reservations from the various high courts and then law enforcement agencies, investigating agencies. There are many delays from all the sides. That's why even though some of the special courts are constituted, cases are still pending. That was the explanation given by the Supreme Court. Next issue is withdrawal of general consent to CBI. Central Bureau of Investigation is a central investigating agency. Recently, Supreme Court has held that if a corruption case is being investigated by the CBI and if the state government removes the prior consent provision for CBI, the ongoing case will not be withdrawn. The case will move forward even after the state withdraws the prior consent because the case has already been taken up and the CBI is investigating it. That was the judgment. In that context, let us understand what is general consent and why some states are withdrawing it. Types of consent given by the state governments. As CBI is a central agency, police and law and order comes under state list. For investigation of any cases by CBI, it has to take consent from the state government. There are 2 types of consents. First one is general consent. General consent under Section 6 of Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. Under this particular act only, CBI got the powers. Under this particular act, to probe a case, every time it need not take the permission, it can take general consent once. That is general consent. Second one is when a general consent is withdrawn, CBI needs to take case-wise consent, that is known as specific consent from the concerned state government. That means there are 2 types of consents. One is general, 2 is specific. There are 8 states which have withdrawn the general consent. 1 is Mizoram, 2 is West Bengal, 3 is Chhattisgarh, 4 Rajasthan, 5 Maharashtra, 6 Kerala, 7 Jharkhand and Punjab. Earlier, AP also has withdrawn the general consent. Now again, it has revoked that particular decision. Let's understand a little bit about CBI. CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, is similar to FBI of USA. It is established under Special Polices Establishment Act 1946. In 1941 executive body, 1946 the act was passed, and it functions under dual control. For superintendents, it functions under Ministry of Personal, Pensions and Public Grievances, which comes under Prime Minister's Office. For investigation of offences under Prevention of Corruption Act, its superintendence lies with CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, and it acts as a nodal agency for investigation of members with regard to Interpol, International Police, and it handles anti-corruption cases as well as other cases also. It can take up suo motu cases only in the union territories, not in the states. Only in union territories it can take up suo motu cases. Next, appointment of director of CBI. This is controversial. Many a times this particular issue is controversial. Director CBI as Inspector General of Police Delhi is appointed under Delhi Special Polices Establishment Act. Till 2014, CBI director was appointed on the basis of Delhi Special Polices Establishment Act. After passing Lokpal Bill, now it is Lokpal Act, a committee is constituted to suggest the names for CBI director's position. Based on the suggestions, based on the names given by this committee, our cabinet committee on appointments take the decisions. This committee is headed by Prime Minister. Other members of the committee include leader of opposition or leader of single largest opposition party, Chief Justice of India or Supreme Court judge nominated by CJI. These three members, they will be part of it, and Home Ministry sends list of eligible candidates to DOPT, and then DOPT prepares the final list on the basis of various criteria, and then appointment committee finally appoints the director of CBI. According to CVC Act 2003, CBI's director should have at least a minimum 2 years of tenure. These are important provisions recently, and this issue is in news. These are some of the intelligence and investigating agencies: Intelligence Bureau, Joint Cipher Bureau, CEIB, RAW, that is Research and Analysis Wing, Defense Intelligence Agency, NTRO, these are intelligence agencies. CBI, NIA, Narcotics Control Bureau, these are investigating agencies. Next issue is anti-defection law and mass resignation as a loophole in it. First of all, let us understand what is anti-defection law. Under 10th schedule of Indian Constitution, using 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, anti-defection law as a provision was introduced into the Indian Constitution. Major purpose of this particular law is to prevent MLAs and MPs from switching political parties for personal motives. This law is applicable to both parliamentary and state assembly members. What are the grounds of disqualification under anti-defection law? First one is, if an elected member gives up his membership of a political party after winning from that particular party, or if an elected member votes or abstains from the voting in the House contrary to the directions given by his political party, that is whip. Third, if any member who is independently elected joins any party. Fourth, if a nominated member joins any political party after the end of 6 months of period. Based on these 4 conditions, the candidate will be disqualified under anti-defection law. But then there are few exceptions under anti-defection law. One is, if 2/3 of the members from legislators from a political party decides to merge with another party, then this particular anti-defection law won't apply. Or either chairman or speaker can resign from his political party while being elected as a member from that particular party. After that, they can rejoin the party if they demit the post. This provision is introduced to promote neutrality. Earlier, anti-defection law allowed split also. Split means 1/3 members can merge with another party. Now, under 93rd Constitutional Amendment Act, this has been removed. Finally, the decision on disqualification questions on the ground of defection is referred to the Speaker or Chairman of the House, and his or her decision is final. Courts can review, but courts can question the basis of the decision. Courts cannot question the power of the Speaker or Chairman. Courts can question the basis on which the either Speaker or Chairman has taken such decision. All the proceedings related to disqualification under 10th schedule are considered as proceedings of the parliament and legislature. Judiciary won't involve in this particular thing. This is about ADL. Now, what is the loophole? What if the elected member resigns from his position as an MLA or MP, then joins another party? Anti-defection law won't apply in that condition. He won't be defected. If he gets elected again, he'll be member of that particular legislature again from another party. Now, this tool has been used. Mass resignations as a tool has been used to circumvent this particular anti-defection law. In this context, there is a need for reforming anti-defection law. There are issues, that is, one, presiding officer and his powers under judicial review, because there are many delays with regard to deciding of anti-defection cases by the presiding officer, and judiciary is intervening. And what is the time limit for deciding on it? And what about freedom of speech? What about the individual candidate doesn't like the party's decision, but party mandates him or her to vote in favor of them? Finally, as discussed, mass resignations is used as a tool to bend the rules of ADL. In this context, to reform ADL, there are many recommendations from various committees. Let us understand them. Dinesh Goswami Committee under Electoral Reforms has mentioned that disqualification should be only for cases where the member gives up the membership of his political party voluntarily, member votes or abstains from voting opposite to the party's directions. That means Dinesh Goswami Committee wants the other two conditions to be removed from the ADL. Then, Law Commission's 170th report has said that delete the exemption of splits and mergers. Already splits as a provision has been exempted, mergers as a provision has not been removed. Consider the pre-poll electoral fronts to form the coalition. That is one of the recommendations. Parties should use whips only on critical situations and critical votes, not in every time. This is important recommendation. And Election Commission of India recommends that make President of India or Governor as the decision maker with respect to disqualification, subject to the advice of Election Commission of India, not the presiding officer. This can bring in neutrality because presiding officer comes from the ruling party. So neutrality would be fictional. So that is why Election Commission of India has recommended for this kind of mechanism to decide on ADL cases. These can be asked as a prelims questions, and they can ask which of the following are recommendations of various committees with regard to reforming ADL. Like that, they can ask the questions. Next issue is 15th Finance Commission report. 15th Finance Commission's report. Finance Commission is a constitutional body appointed under Article 280. Composition is decided by the Parliament. Appointment is by the President of India. Qualifications are decided by the Parliament. Service conditions appointed once in 5 years. This is a temporary body. There are no restrictions in the post-retirement. 15th Finance Commission has submitted its report recently. That is why it is in news. In this context, we have to understand this. Before the final report, it has submitted interim report for 1 year. 15th Finance Commission headed by N.K. Singh. N.K. Singh is the chairman of 15th Finance Commission. This particular commission has submitted interim report for 1 year. After that, it has submitted a final report for 5 years. What is the importance of Finance Commission? Why Finance Commission is necessary? Finance Commission acts as a balancing wheel of fiscal federalism because it shares the taxes. It shares the taxes from centers to states, and it also examines the emerging fiscal issues on the recommendations of the President of India based on the terms and conditions given to it. And then it allocates the fiscal resources efficiently based on vertical and horizontal formulas, and it guides the State Finance Commission in augmenting the local body resources. This is the importance of Finance Commission. That is why it is known as balancing wheel of fiscal federalism. In this context, let us understand what are the recommendations of 15th Finance Commission. 15th Finance Commission has recommended for devolution of 41% of total net taxes collected at the central level to be devolved to the states, 41%. Earlier, 14th Finance Commission has revolved around 42%. Now it is 41. Why? Because earlier Jammu and Kashmir was a state. Now it is union territory. So that is why this change has happened. Now, with regard to horizontal distribution of this fund, there is a criteria given by 15th Finance Commission. Population is given 15% weightage, and area is given 15% weightage. Forestry and ecology was given 10% weightage. Income distance is given 45% weightage. Demographic performance, population control, etc. It's given 12.5 percentage. Tax effort, first time this particular thing is introduced. This was not there earlier. Tax support by the states has been recognized as a criteria for devolution of taxes among the states. Other than this, what are the other recommendations? Vertical level devolution, 41%. It has recommended for Million Plus Cities Challenge Fund. What is this fund? For million plus population cities, 100% of the grants are performance linked through the Million Plus Cities Challenge Fund. And it has recommended for Defense and Internal Security Modernization Fund of 1.5 lakh crore to be shifted from the Consolidated Fund of India over a period of 5 years for the defense modernization. And it has recommended on GST. What are the important recommendations on it? Multiple slab rates are not optimal, but one single rate may not also be optimal. So, if optimal, that is 2 or 3 slab rates needs to be decided. Inverted duty structure needs to be removed. Consultative mechanism in case of any conflict with regard to GST between center and state should be there. These are some of the important recommendations of 15th Finance Commission. Next issue is contempt of court case, Kunal Karma case. Kunal Karma, comedian, he was arrested on contempt of court case. What is contempt of court case? Contempt of court is to protect the respect of the judiciary. This power is regulated but not restricted in the Contempt of Courts Act. This contempt of court, what is the meaning of contempt of court? That is not defined in Indian Constitution. Under Article 129, under Article 215, Supreme Court and High Court respectively has the contempt of court provisions. Under Contempt of Courts Act, contempt is divided as two types. One is civil contempt, two is criminal contempt. Civil contempt refers to willful disobedience of judgment given by the court. Criminal contempt refers to scandalizing the court, interference with the functioning of the court, obstruction of justice. These are three conditions which are part of criminal contempt. Section 5 of this Contempt of Courts Act defines that fair criticism and fair comment cannot be considered as a contempt. But what is fair? What is fair criticism? That is left to the interpretation of the judges. So, in this particular case, recently this issue has been severely criticized. Prashant Bhushan case and Kunal Karma case, in many cases, judiciary is not tolerant. That is the argument made. Judiciary is not tolerant, and freedom of speech and expression is part of fundamental rights, Article 19(1)(a). And contempt of court is not mentioned as an exception under Article 19(2). So, in this context, how contempt of court, how in the name of contempt of court, individuals' freedoms and speech of expression is curtailed? This is not part of Article 92. That is the question now. Article 19(2) and contempt case, this has been debated and discussed recently. Next issue is ban on opinion polls. Former election commissioner has recommended for banning the opinion polls. First of all, what is the meaning of opinion poll? Opinion poll means pre-election survey. Various TV channels, news channels, various organizations, they gather voters' views on a range of election-related issues. Based on that, they publish the opinion polls. Under Section 126(1)(b) of Representation of People's Act, displaying any election matters, including results of any opinion poll or other poll survey, in any electronic media would be prohibited prior to 48 hours of the election. 48 hours of the election. General election, it can be general election or by-election. So, opinion polls are allowed. but 48 hours before the election, these are not allowed. Exit polls means post voting poll. It is conducted just after voters walk out of the polling booths after casting their vote. Such polls aim at predicting the actual result on the basis of information collected from the voters. Under Section 126A of RPA Act, exit polls are banned. Exit polls are banned between the commencement of the poll until the half an hour after the closing of final phase of the poll. Exit polls have been proved unreliable in India. Exit polls are banned in India, but opinion polls are allowed 48 hours before the election. These are banned, prohibited. Next issue is recusal of Supreme Court judge. Recusal means voluntarily the judge says I am not going to be part of this particular case. So that is known as recusal. Recusal means abstaining from participation in an official action such as legal proceedings is known as recusal. So what is the process and decision making under recusal? Decision to recuse generally comes from the judge himself, and it is not decided by anyone. If the judge feels there is a potential conflict of interest, the judge should disclose it and judge should recuse. Judge can recuse, it is not mandatory. Some judges orally convey to the lawyers that there are reasons for recusals, so they explain reasons. They can also explain their reasons in the order, and they recuse from that particular case. In some circumstances, lawyers and parties they bring up the case before the judge. Once the request is made for the recusal, decision to recuse or not to recuse lies with the judge itself. Right? Let's say if someone complains that there is a conflict of interest, then also the judge might not go away from that particular bench. Or it depends upon the judge. So if the judge recuses, the case is listed before the Chief Justice of India, and Chief Justice of India in case of Supreme Court or Chief Justice of High Court in case of High Court, they allocate that particular case to the new bench. There are no formal rules that guide the process of recusal. Please understand this. This is important. There are many Supreme Court judges who recused from many cases. Next issue is one nation, one election. Last year during COVID period, in few states elections were conducted. In that context, they said this kind of emergency election conduction could have been averted if we had a simultaneous election. That is why simultaneous election as a concept came resurfaced again last year. Simultaneous election means conducting the Indian elections in simultaneously for both Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies together. Elections to local bodies comes under state list. They are not included under the simultaneous elections concept. Only parliamentary elections, that is Lok Sabha and legislative assembly. See, simultaneous elections were held first time in 1952. After that, in 1957, 62, 67, all these years, elections were held simultaneously. After that, few governments got dissolved, etc. Because of that, timings have changed. In this context, what are the arguments for simultaneous elections? Simultaneous elections helps in many ways. Let us understand them. First one is there's huge economic cost of conducting multiple elections within 1 year or all the years. Understand this. In all the years, every year in one or few states we have elections happening everywhere. In this context, this costs the election commission hugely. Policy paralysis. Whenever election schedule is released, model code of conduct would be enforced in that particular region. This affects the government's functioning. Then administrative costs. There's a huge cost for deploying the security forces, transporting them, etc. This can be reduced if we have simultaneous election. But then there are arguments against the simultaneous elections. What are they? One is federal problem. Let's say now recently for West Bengal elections has happened. Now let's say next year if we want to go for simultaneous elections for Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies, will that state agree? They say that we have 3 more years under constitution. Why will we resign and go for the elections? Yes or no? that becomes a federal issue. And it is against the spirit of democracy. No democratic government can be forced to resign. And regional parties will be at disadvantageous position because now when the elections happen simultaneously, central agenda dominates the state level agenda and accountability gets diminished. Over a period of 5 years, every year we have elections. So government will be answerable. So now what if we conduct elections only once in 5 years, that accountability can get diluted. That is why some people say that some people say no to simultaneous elections, some people say yes to simultaneous elections. In this context, Niti Aayog has submitted a report and it has said that UK enacted Fixed Term Parliaments Act. Fixed Term Parliaments Act. That means Parliament will have fixed tenure after the general election, and it recommended that 2 times we can conduct elections. Maybe once in 2.5 years we can conduct the elections. So 14 states, let's say 14 states in one group, other 14 states in another group. So such innovative solutions or solutions can be implemented to conduct the simultaneous elections. That is the recommendation of Niti Aayog. What is simultaneous election? Pros and cons of it and the suggestions. Clear? Next, let us understand art and culture and history related concepts. First one is Jallikattu sport. Jallikattu. It is a tradition over 2000 years old. So why this was in news is Jallikattu movie is there. That movie is nominated for Oscars. That's why last year this was in news. Now, Jallikattu is a tradition over 2000 years. It is a competitive sport in honor of the bull owner who rears them for mating. But it is a violent sport in which contestants try to tame the bull for the prize. If they fail, the bull owner wins the prize. In this context, this particular sport is a traditional sport very famous in places like Madurai, Tiruchirappalli, Theni, Pudukkotty, like that. In these districts, Jallikattu, these are districts known as Jallikattu belt. It is celebrated in the second week of January during the Pongal festival. Kangayam, Pulikulam, Umbalachari, Bargur, Malai Madu, these are the native breeds of cattle which are used for Jallikattu. These are famous locally. Now, what is the issue? Why legal issues are there with regard to this? In 2011, central government has added bulls to the list of animals whose training and exhibition is prohibited. In 2014, Supreme Court has banned the bull taming sports based on 2011 notification. State government, Tamil Nadu state government has legalized these events and challenged the Supreme Court's order through appeal. In this context, what is the controversy? Under Article 29, every state has the right to protect its own culture and there is the right of freedom of animals. So there are many environmental organizations, animal rights organizations which say that this sport violates the animal rights. But then Tamil Nadu state says that we have the cultural independence. So in this context, it is violation of this order of banning Jallikattu is violation of Article 29. That is the position of the government. There are other examples too. There is a game called Kambala. It is similar sport as like Jallikattu. This is famous in Karnataka. Except in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, bull taming and racing, where these two are continued. But otherwise in other states like AP, Punjab, Maharashtra, there's a ban based on the Supreme Court's 2004's order. Next issue is Sarna religion. Jharkhand government has recently, in November 2020, convened a special assembly session to pass a resolution to recognize Sarna religion and include it as a separate code under Census 2021. Under Census 2021, only few names are there, religious group selection. But in 21, the Jharkhand government wants Sarna religion to include in the Census 2021. Sarna faith, they believe in, pray to the nature, and they have faith in Jal, Jungle and Jameen, land, water and forest. And these are followers who pray to the trees and hills. Jharkhand has 32 tribal groups. of which 8 are from particularly vulnerable tribal groups. They belong to Sarna religion. While many follow Hindu religion, few have converted to Christianity from these tribal groups. And this has become a major plank to have a separate code to have separate religious identity at various tribal organizations. That means we don't want to convert into Hindu. We don't want to say we are Christians. We want our own religion. So now they can be included as a Sarna religion in if Home Ministry includes it under the census 2021. Next, let us understand geography related issues and map pointing. First issue is Luhri Hydro Project. Recently, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, it has approved the investment for Luhri Stage 1 electricity project. That is why this was the news. It is located on River Satluj in Shimla and Kullu districts of Himachal Pradesh. Satluj River, on Satluj River, this particular Luhri project was approved. It helps for generation of hydropower and also for irrigation. Luhri is a place in Himachal Pradesh. This project is located on Satluj River. And let's understand a little bit about Satluj River. Satluj River arises from Manas Sarovar and Rakshas lakes, and it flows through India. This river is the southernmost river of Indus major rivers, and it meets with the Bias River. It flows as a Satluj into Pakistan. So this Rakshas and Manas Sarovar lakes in Tibet, and it flows into India. Like Indus, it takes the northwesterly coast up to Shipkila Pass, northwest coast, and then it northwest course, and then it moves downwards. It moves downwards at Shipkila mountain pass on the borders of Tibet and Himachal Pradesh. It cuts steep gorges where it pierces the Great Himalayas and enters into India. Before entering into Punjab plains, it cuts a gorge at Naina Devi Dhar, where famous Bakra Nangal Dam has been constructed. Bakra Nangal Dam is built across Satluj River. After entering into the plains at Nagar, that is Ropar, it turns westwards and it joins by Bias at Harike. This Harike is an important wetland. Ropar and Harike both are wetlands. And from Firozpur to Fagzila, it forms a boundary between India and Pakistan for nearly 120 kilometers. This is the river boundary between India and Pakistan. During the onward journey, it receives the water from Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum rivers, and it joins into, it receives water from Chenab, Ravi, and Jhelum, and then it merges with the Indus River at Mithankot. Overall 1,450 kilometers. In that, 1,050 kilometers of the length is in India. Its maximum flow is in India. Next is Sakzam Valley. So this is recently been called as China-occupied Kashmir, Sakzam Valley. This is the northernmost territory of Jammu and Kashmir. This is the one. This valley was under occupation of Pakistan, and it has gifted this particular valley to China. Pakistan has gifted this valley to China. Sakzam Valley is part of POK. It is handed over by Pakistan to China through illegal border agreement in the year 1963. Why are we calling it as illegal? Because that is our territory. How can Pakistan give it to China? That's why we consider it as illegal. So it is considered as China occupation of Kashmir's territory. It is not mentioned in many places. It's Sakzam Valley is important. This has been under China's occupation along with Aksai Chin region. China and Pakistan have colluded, and this CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, passes through this particular region like this. On this side we have Gilgit-Baltistan province. It comes through Sakzam Valley and then to Gilgit-Baltistan province. So now Sakzam Valley is under Chinese occupation, that is India's territory. Next issue is Ladakh Glacial Lake Outburst. In the year 2014, Glacial Lake Outburst has happened In Gya village of Ladakh, it destroyed the houses, fields, and bridges. Researchers they have mapped the evolution of Gya Glacier Lake and noted the cause of the flood. Important. What do we mean by glacial flood? Let's say this is the glacier. Sudden melting of this glacial. Generally, glacials when they melt, they form lakes which are known as glacial lakes. What if suddenly it bursts? This one is known as glacial outburst. Sudden burst of the lakes is known as glacial lake outburst. Glacial lake outburst, which is also known as GLOF, is a type of outburst or flood that occurs when a dam containing glacial lake fails. If the lake overflows, not bursting the dam, that is barrage, if the lake overflows, that phenomena is known as Jokul up. Dam can consist of glacial ice or terminal moraine. Moraine means the sediments from the glacier. Failure can happen due to erosion, buildup of water pressure, avalanche, heavy snow melting, earthquake, volcanic eruption. So, any of these can lead to glacial lake outbursts. What has happened in Ladakh in 2014? It was not a spillover, but there's a tunneling of the drainage process. Let's say if we take a bucket, if the water overflows, it comes like that. Or what if there is let's say, gap over here, a hole over here, it moves like this, right? This led to flooding. So this thing has happened. Flooding has happened. Flooding did not happen due to spillover, but it has happened because of the thawing of the ice cores in the moraine. So it led to gaps, tunneling. That's why this kind of glacial lake outburst has happened. Next issue is Tigray. This is a place in Ethiopia, northernmost one, which forms the border between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Eritrea is this one, and this entire region is Ethiopia. Eritrea. Ethiopia and Eritrea, they had border conflict. They tried to resolve it. For that, Ethiopian Prime Minister was conferred with the Nobel Peace Prize also. Now, this region, the transition region known as Tigray, it is in controversy now. Tigray region is the northernmost of 9 provinces of Ethiopia. It is the homeland to Tigrayan or Irob and Kunuma people, these 3 tribes. This region is known as Region 1 according to the federal constitution. This particular one is bordering Eritrea to the north, Sudan to the west, Ahmara region to the south, and Afar region to the east and southeast region. So this one is in controversy. There's a civil war going on. Now let's understand this. This is Eritrea. This is Djibouti. This one is Djibouti country. This is Somalia. This is Ethiopia. These 4 countries together are called as Horn of Africa. They border Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Horn of Africa. Important. Next issue is Colombo Port City. Recently, China built Colombo Port City was inaugurated by Sri Lanka. Colombo is at the western coast of Sri Lanka, where it is located on the Kalu River. It is located on the banks of Kalu River. Kalu is an important river in Sri Lanka. This Colombo Port City is built and constructed by China, and it is leased to China for a period of time. It was started in the year 2015. Now last year, that is in 2020, the project was completed. Colombo Port City. This is declared as a financial city by Sri Lankan government. Next issue is Frontier Highway in Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister has recently mentioned about Frontier Highway, that is from Tawang to, it covers the border areas of Arunachal Pradesh till the edge of Myanmar, till the border of Myanmar. See, from Tawang province to Dichu, that is border of Myanmar. This particular road is proposed by the central government, and Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister has supported this particular one. So there was a Ladakh standoff last year between India and China. In this context, Frontier Railway project, this helps us strategically in case of any war-like situations. Frontier Railway project is also known as Arunachal Frontier Railway Highway and Mogo Tingbu-Vijayanagar border highway. It is a 2000-kilometer long road that follows the McMahon line. McMahon line forms the boundary between India and China. China is not accepting this McMahon line. It is claiming entire Arunachal Pradesh as its territory. But we say that McMahon line was signed between British India and China. So this is the boundary. That is India's argument. It accompanies the Trans-Arunachal Highway, Arunachal East-West Corridor as the major highways. It also helps in Look East connectivity concept. Look East and Act East. There is a concept called Act East concept. Act East connectivity project. This highway, it intersects with the proposed East-West Industrial Corridor Highway at the foothills of Arunachal Pradesh, and this highway crosses the Dibang Wildlife Sanctuary, which has certain environmental concerns. Dibang Wildlife Sanctuary, environmental concerns are there, but considering the strategic significance of it, this has been proposed and this has been supported. Frontier Highway of Arunachal Pradesh. Next issue is Cocoa Islands. China has set up electronic intelligence installations on near Cocoa Islands. Where are these Cocoa Islands? Where are they located? This is the Cocoa Channel. Cocoa Channel is located between Cocoa Islands, which belongs to Myanmar, Cocoa Islands, Greater Cocoa Island, Little Cocoa Island, and then Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Cocoa Channel is between Cocoa Islands and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are very, very near to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, just at the northern part of it. These islands, they belong to Myanmar. Myanmar has given them for lease to China. And there are criticisms that during our independence time, we could have held the power over Cocoa Islands. We could not act decisively. That's why now they are under Myanmar's controls. That is one of the criticisms. Anyway, now what is the issue? China is building many base stations. The electronic intelligence station is built on Great Cocoa Island. It is a group of islands located in Bay of Bengal region at the southern part of Burmese main island. Chinese army is also building a base in Cocoa Island in the Alexandria Channel. The water body lies between Indian Ocean and the Andaman Sea, north of India's Andaman Islands. The two islands of Cocoa Group have been leased to China since 1994. These are located at the crucial points in the Bay of Bengal near the Strait of Malacca. Here we have Strait of Malacca. So now we have strategic advantage in Andaman and Sea because of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now China also has a strategic grip because it holds these Cocoa Islands. Cocoa Islands can be used to monitor the Indian naval and missile launch facilities in the Andaman Nicobar Islands. So that is why it is a strategic concern to India. Next issue is Natanz facility. Recently, in November 2020, Iran's scientist was killed. Iran's nuclear scientist, who is considered as father of Iran's nuclear program, was killed. So this Natanz facility is important in this context. Natanz is Iran's only uranium enrichment plant. Natanz is Iran's only nuclear enrichment plants. Fardo is a plant which converts the fuel enrichment. It is a fuel enrichment technology. There's one more nuclear facility known as Arak facility. Arak is heavy water facility. Natanz, Arak, Fardo, these are important places in Iran. They can ask this way, which of the match the following, and then they give the name of the place and then they ask us to match with the country. Natanz is a nuclear facility. It's located in the Isfahan province in Tehran region. It is the country's main uranium enrichment facility. It is known as first pilot fuel enrichment plant of Iran. And then there is Fardo fuel enrichment plant. It is second pilot enrichment plant in Iran. Fardo, Natanz and Arak, important. Next issue is Great Bend of Brahmaputra. China has proposed few projects along the Great Bend of Brahmaputra River. Brahmaputra River, which is known as Yarlung Zangbo in Tibet, flows parallel to Himalayas till the edge of this particular region. Here we have Namcha Barwa mountains. At that particular place, it bends and it enters into India, into Arunachal Pradesh, and then flows to Assam plains and then moves into Bangladesh. This is the flow of Brahmaputra river. Recently, Chinese authorities have given go ahead for building Chinese hydroelectricity projects at the Great Bend region. This Brahmaputra river originates as Yarlung Zangbo in Tibet and enters into Siang and Dihang and enters into India. It enters west of Sadia town of Arunachal Pradesh, and then it meets with many other tributaries like Subarnasri, Lohit, Dibang, Dihang. These are the tributaries of it. Dihang, Lohit, Siang, Buhri Dihang, Tista, Dhanasri. These are the tributaries of Brahmaputra river. This is how it bends. It bends and it moves. So what happens if China builds a dam there? Suddenly, if the dam burst happens, it flows downwards with high speeds and it can obstruct the flow of the river also, river water. That is an upstream country. So, if it builds many dams there, flow of water gets obstructed in India. These are two concerns of India with regard to China building dams across Great Bend of Brahmaputra. Next issue is Mansar Lake development. Mansar Lake Development and Rejuvenation Project was proposed similar to Ganga Rejuvenation Plan. Mansar Lake is located in Jammu region. This is the Mansar Lake. Mansar Lake is located in Jammu region. It is a freshwater lake surrounded by forest covered hills. Surinar Mansar lakes. These are known as twin lakes. They are considered as a Ramsar site. Surinar Lake is situated 9 kilometers from Mansar Lake. They are considered twin lakes. Between both lakes, there is Surinar Mansar Wildlife Sanctuary. This particular wildlife sanctuary is home to several species of animals, including spotted deer, nilgai, and birds such as ducks and cranes. So, the objective of a lake development project is to attract the tourists to this particular region. Mansar Lake is located in Jammu and Kashmir. It is a Ramsar wetland. These are the issues of part 1, November 2020. PDF of this video is available in the description. If you want to join the test series related to these videos, you can join so by clicking on the link mentioned in the description. Thank you very much. All the very best.